Hey there, Jules Polanetsky at the Future of Privacy Forum, and I'm joined today with our privacy update by our VP of Policy here, John Verdi.
Greetings.
So we're going to talk briefly today about something we're optimistic about. Many of the leading civil liberties and privacy groups have been working for a number of years to try to update the rules that affect your email. The question is, when can law enforcement access your emails? We all have all sorts of information in there. None of us are doing anything wrong, but law enforcement has sometimes very valid reasons. They're looking for criminals, but there are times where perhaps the average citizen could be caught up. And what protections are in place before the police department, the FBI, a government agency can demand your emails from an email provider? Most of us don't have our emails sitting solely on our computer. They're sitting in cloud email providers, Google, Yahoo, AOL. There are some protections today, even without
out in the Electronic Communications Privacy Act.
ECPA.
ECPA, absolutely. And ECPA has many parts and it has many provisions, but privacy in their email for many years. But it has provided protections in a way that has not been consistent with the evolving voicemail rather than email, because email was not in wide use at that time. And recent communications than it does for older communications. So for example, Jules, if I left you a voicemail today, would for a voicemail that you listened to and I left for you 200 days ago. And that might have made sense many years ago.
Yeah. And the other one was now sort of a record that was stored, and therefore for email.
Exactly. But for email, because ECPA hasn't really been updated, is that emails that are less than 180 days old right? Those protections are higher for emails that are under 180 days old than they
There they could just send you a legal request. Give us your email. We're doing an investigation. That makes no sense, right?
Exactly.
Just because I didn't delete it, it suddenly becomes far more available to law enforcement.
Sure. If you have emails that include health information, financial information, any of those things, those are just as sensitive if they're 2 years old than they are if it were sent to you today.
And a lot of us don't delete our email because
of course
there's a lot of storage, and
it's really useful.
Giant history of our lives in that email.
Absolutely. It's really useful to keep email archives around for searchability and reuse and things like that. But what has developed over the past few years has been a common consensus amongst privacy advocates, businesses, and law enforcement, right, in the wake of some judicial decisions, that the most appropriate protections for all email is a warrant requirement. And as a matter of course, federal law enforcement has gone ahead and gotten warrants in the recent past in order to access email from providers. Providers have pushed back against requests that did not include a warrant based on probable cause. But what today's vote in the House will do, if the Senate goes ahead and passes it as well, would be to codify those protections, those common sense protections for the way that we use email today into federal law.
So it won't matter simply the age of the email.
Exactly. It would take the age of the email and the fact of whether or not it was opened or
right. then it now again becomes
it will become
less
normalized, and an opened email and an unopened email will explicitly get the same treatment under the statute.
So this bill, the Email Privacy Act, Melanie will post a link to information. It now moves to the Senate, but it passed the House previously and ran into trouble in the Senate.
That's right.
Do we know whether we've got a blocked it? I guess he was worried that law enforcement shouldn't even have to go get a warrant because that would be an impediment, even though they often need to get a warrant anyway for many of these emails. So we're worried about the Senate.
The Senate. The future's unwritten in the Senate. We have what the Senate will do when they take this question up. But what we do know are what companies believe is that's a
little bit more if you're not one of the folks who information about what's going on. You know what to do if you agree with us and how to information about it in the comments.